Fáilte Rómhaigh Cóide, you're welcome indeed to another edition of the Irish at Home and Abroad. I'm here on Achill Island for the Achill Sound Bridge Festival, which celebrates the 130th anniversary of the opening of the Michael David Bridge. Now, there's a full weekend of activities, and we're here to meet some of the people involved. So what's happening here this weekend?
Well, we're marking the 130th anniversary of the Michael David Bridge here behind me, and it's a significant date that was opened by Michael David in 1887. So I couldn't let the year pass without marking it in some way. So we're basically celebrating the heritage of the island. We have a family fun day planned today with bouncy castles and various craft stalls and vintage cars and pony and traps, and it's quite a lot of effort gone into today. So for everyone to enjoy.
It's a full weekend of festivities.
Absolutely, yeah. You couldn't just complete this in one day or one afternoon. So we ran it over the full weekend across the sound here behind me of Achill and into the village. And every shop has come on board, and every premises and hotel and bar, and they're all taking part.
Now, Michael David, the great Land League leader, officially opened the original bridge 130 years ago. And how did you manage to get his grandson to come now and give it a blessing this time?
Well, we just visited the Michael David Museum in Straid and spoke to the guys in there, and they were delighted to hear about this event. And they got in touch with the family, and in turn, his grandson, Father Tom David. And he was only too delighted to come up here and for the weekend and enjoy the festivities.
Father Tom, you're very welcome to Achill Island. How does it feel to be here today?
Well, I've never been here before, that's a start. And because of the connection with the grandfather and so on, I'm very pleased to be here and to have been invited to come over to this. And lastly, obviously, I'm pleased to bless the reopened bridge. Why not?
Were you aware of your grandfather's connection with the Achill Island Bridge?
Well, not when I was a little boy, but at some stage I did, of course, because I read up a lot about him. And just to be in a place where, I've been in a lot of places where he was, but I was never in Achill before.
Yes, yes.
So it's good.
Yes.
Good to do something for the first time. I'm in my 89th year, and here I am in County Mayo. That says something, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And looking back on your grandfather, you must be very proud of the work he has done and the affection he's held here, particularly in the west of Ireland.
Oh, of course, no doubt about that. You run across that when you read anything about him. You run across the west of Ireland, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, proud of the sort of things he did. But as I've often said, I'd love to have known him personally as my grandfather.
Yeah, and
as I told other people, I'm very grateful for those who invited me, and I'm very glad I was able to take up the invitation, and here I am.
Now, there's a tremendous history to the bridge, isn't there?
There is, as I say, they opened it in 1887, but prior to that, it was just access across the water, and the waters here were treacherous, as you can see, the current behind me. And crossing it, there was, you know, you were taking your life in your hands, basically. So a few people came together and says, it's not that long of a distance to span, and wouldn't it be good to put in a footbridge? So the plans were put in place then to install this footbridge, but at the time there was a gentleman from Fermanagh. He came to visit Achill. He was John Feasy Porter, and he saw how treacherous it was, and he said a footbridge wouldn't be sufficient to go there, and he contributed £4,000 of his own money to put in a bridge wide enough to take a horse and cart. So at the time the bridge cost £6,000, so he had put in a significant cash injection of £4,000 to put the horse and cart bridge in, which we worked out today's money, you're looking at £500,000. But yeah, that would have been a huge occasion to connect the island to the mainland, because prior to the bridge it was known that some people lived and died without ever setting foot on the mainland, that they never left the island. So when the introduction of the bridge, it was more accessible.
Does it ever be raised, the bridge?
It's seldom. As boating is going down, you know, it's a revival there in the last few years. There's pleasure crafts now, but it's seldomly opened. So we got in touch with Mayo County Council, who were only too delighted to mark the event, and we're going to have it open today at 5 o'clock and allow the boats to pass through.
It's very important for the people of Achill to have such an infrastructure into their island. It really brings them tourists into the island, it brings commerce into the island, it brings the people from Achill, it gives them an opportunity to work on the mainland and to travel without difficulty in all weathers, I must say, between the island and the rest of the county and of course the rest of the country. And I'm delighted to see that the new bridge has replaced the old one, and it's modern and it's better, and we're delighted to be associated with it in the council.
John, you have a great knowledge of the bridge here on Achill Sound.
Well, I remember the first bridge, and the second one then was constructed in 1947. And my friend Padraig Shohey used to say that the first bridge was actually in use in 1886, and he was anxious that we would keep that link with the Statue of Liberty, because that was the year the Statue of Liberty was donated by France to America, and that it was the year in which we got the freedom from the island to the mainland.
How important was this bridge for the island?
Oh, it was hugely important. I was just reading recently where there was an account of a fair. You see, the fair was always at Achill Sound, and that's 12 miles from Duach. And we used to walk with the cattle to Achill Sound to the fair. And from every other village in Achill, it was the focal point, Achill Sound Fair, but it was on the other side of the bridge in my time. But in the early years, I was reading that in 1883, at the November Fair, it was a fierce day weather-wise, and in those days, when you sold the animal on the fair green, which was on the other side of the bridge, you would not get paid until you
Crossed over
the animal to the other side.
Right.
And there was huge hardship involved in that. They used to have to swim the cattle across to the mainland, to the jobbers. They called them jobbers, the people who would be buying the cattle. And the same with pigs and so on. And there were often some cattle lost. They'd be swept away in the tide, and particularly pigs. You know, so it was huge hardship. Imagine having to do that, and you wouldn't get paid until you delivered on the mainland.
Teresa, this is a very historic day for Achill Island.
It is, and I'm very proud to be here today. Achill is a part of the West Municipal District, and it would have been quicker for me to come over the water from Balmullet, but I drove all the way around here to support them. It's very important for history and for our heritage for everyone to be here today, and I'm very proud to be here today.
And of course, that was the old way of getting to Achill, wasn't it, by boat?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
There was no bridge in those days.
Absolutely. How did they do it back then? But they did. And so here we are today to remember that as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, you're very involved with the heritage and the culture of the area and that. This bridge, going back to Michael Davitt days, very historic, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. And it's good that we remember this for the young ones coming through that forget all this history, and we need to keep them up to date and remind them of what it was like back then.
Yeah. And do you have a close association with Achill Island yourself,
Absolutely,
Teresa?
yeah. When we drive into Achill, it's like driving into Erris. It's the same area, there's a huge emigration from these areas as well. So we do connect, we do, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, this bridge is famous for holiday makers and tourists who actually, they arrive on Achill Island. It's the first sight to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not only tourists, it's the locals. Once you cross that bridge, you're home, you know, there's a sense of home. as well as going the other way. When you're leaving your home once you go under the bridge. But yeah, the tourism trade industry has seen a huge injection this year, and it's been busier than ever. And once they come under the bridge, you know, they're coming into Achill Island.
It's a gateway to the island, and it's, well, the fact that we know that we're connected by the bridge to the mainland, that's a huge bonus. But I heard that Michael D. Higgins recently, when he had a meeting of all the islanders, he said that we have all the people from the island, and we have people from Achill Island and from the island down in Kerry who are semi-detached. So
nice way of putting this.
We're semi-detached, and we're very grateful for that. Oh, it's a huge boost to the island, and it's a landmark. Yeah. I mean, when you see that bridge there, you know you're crossing onto an island, and I think it's hugely important that we keep the image, the island image, because that's very special, you know.
Would you like to see this weekend become an annual event, Vincent?
Absolutely, we're already talking about that for next year. So yeah, it will be this time next year.
Paul Geraint, you're very welcome back to part 2 of the programme. We're here in one of the finest traditional music venues in the country, Matt Molloy's in Westport, for the launch of a brand new CD by a very talented singer-songwriter from County Armagh, Janet Dowd.
They told all the fine young men when this war is over.
Janet, how did you get involved in the music business?
Well, I always was very fond of music. There was a lot of music in the house. My mum's a great singer, but she keeps that under a bushel. She sings in the bath, that's about the height of it. But her brother was in a show band, so there's always been music and playing and blasting in the house. And I loved to sing, but I was a very shy child, you know. And it was only in later years, when I was in my teens, that I got singing with bands and that when I went to England, to art college.
And did you want to become professional at that stage, or was it necessary for you to get the day job?
Not at all. I had the day job. I never even dreamt that I would be doing it professionally. And in fact, I took the plunge about 6-7 years ago to leave a job that I'd been doing for a long time to teach singing. So my whole life revolves around singing at the moment. And I teach in a local music school in Dungannon.
Well, let's talk about the new album now. It's called Home, and there's very distinguished musicians on the album to start with.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, we'll have Donna Hennessy playing guitar on the album, and Alan Doherty, who played in Lord of the Rings, playing a whistle on it. Martin Brunsden from Hot House Flowers, Jimmy Higgins, percussion, Pauline Scanlon and Teresa Horgan singing beautiful harmonies, and last but definitely not least, two of the fellas out of the band, Colin Henry on dobro and Mr. Brendan Goff on piano.
And of course you've had great success with all 3 albums so far.
Yes, all 3 took the #1 spot in the Irish Music Magazine, which is unbelievable to me. It's just fantastic.
You've had a long association with Janet.
Yeah, I've a very long association with, well, long as in about 7 or 8 years, you know. We actually met here in Matt Molloy's at various sessions, you know, along with Mick Lavelle and a few people like that. And I actually enjoyed her voice so much that I asked her to sing at my wedding, which was lovely. And since then, I've been in contact with her, and I love listening to her music. She's got three wonderful albums, and luckily she's actually asked me to come along tonight to play bass, which is, well, I wouldn't say a dream, but I'd say I'm very delighted to be here.
Yeah, well, you're a very well-known musician in this part of the world, even though you're originally from the north of Ireland, isn't it?
Originally from Belfast. I came here about 20 years ago for a weekend. I'm still trying to get home. So unfortunately, there's no trains that go straight to Belfast. But I've been here about 20 years. I came here, as I said, for a weekend, but I ended up, people kept asking me to play gigs, to get involved in the music scene here. And it's been continuous ever since, for the last 20 years.
Yeah, just on that, you're involved in a lot of music projects here, aren't you?
I have been. I've been involved with the Arts Festival here. I've been involved with gigs here in Mount Malloy's, organising, doing a sign for artists like Luca Bloom, and I also organised the Acoustic Yard, which is a songwriting. I started off as a songwriting session every week, and it ended up being a songwriting festival, which is on in May of every year, and that's great, you know.
And of course, Jan is a very talented songwriter as well.
Yeah, I found that out in the last few years. The first song I heard was a song she wrote for Mick Lavelle. She sent it to me, which I played on my show. I have a radio show, the Acoustic Yard radio show, and actually on her latest album, she's got a couple of songs as well, which wonderful, wonderful. And she keeps telling me she's not a songwriter, but she is. She's a very good songwriter.
So looking forward to playing tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I'm delighted to be invited, you know. It's nice to be invited, and I think it's going to be a great night. She's got a huge following here, more than she even realises. So we're looking forward to that.
Elaine, what brings you here to Mount Malloy's?
Well, I've been a friend of Janet's for a long time, and I got the chance to travel down with her today to come and enjoy her CD launch in Westport. We've been friends for many years, and we used to holiday down in Westport, so I thought this was the perfect spot to come and enjoy the CD launch.
And is she enjoying success around the country and that?
Yeah, there's been quite a few things happening along the line, and with the CD launch and a few concerts and things, and we try to get to as many of them to support her as possible.
As you may know, Henry, I present radio programmes on Irish Country Music Radio, which covers the whole spectrum, called folk, ballads, country, everything. And I got in touch with Janet, and she very kindly sent me the album, so I featured it on a couple of my programmes. And she happened to mention that she was coming to Westport this evening to launch the album, so I said I'm definitely going to be there, so that's what brought me here.
And did you get a lot of requests for this song?
Yeah, it was a good response. They love the style of the music, they love her voice, and the songs are very catchy. And I particularly like there's a couple of songs on the album that Janet has written herself, and I really like them. So I have to come here tonight to see her.
And do you think this is the first time seeing her live?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And do you think she's a good future as a songwriter?
Definitely. Well, if the album is anything to go by and the quality of the songwriting, definitely. She's going to do very well. And I believe this is her third album, so she's on her way.
The theme is home, and I hope I've managed to get all the best songs that relate to home. Tommy Sands is a fantastic songwriter, and in particular that song Come On Home to the County Down is one of my huge favourites, and knew I had to record that. Their songs are from Finbar McGee, who's a Newry man, and he wrote a song called My Belfast Love, which is a beautiful romantic number about his partner.
And you haven't forgotten Westport either?
Oh, definitely not, no. I have been coming down to Westport for a long time, and people had been saying to me, when are you going to write a song about Westport? You love it so much, why are you not writing a song about it? So that's where Westport Town came about. And then now, since people are saying, there's none on there about County Armagh. So I'll have to do another album now. Yeah. But yes, Westport Town, yes, it brings back very fond memories of the place, and it's going down well in the Mayo area, I believe, which is great. Really brilliant.
And any particular reason, out of all the places that you selected, Mount Malloy's to launch this album?
Well, Mount Malloy's is a very special venue, it really is. It's gorgeous, and the people that have graced that stage, I'm just honoured to be one of them. And As I say, we've been coming down for a long time, and we've had mighty sessions in Matt Malloy's with the man himself, like on occasion. So it's just fantastic to be back, and we've launched all our albums here actually.
Well, look, enjoy the evening and congratulations on the new album. We wish you all the best with it and continued success.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Well, we wish Janet the very best of luck with a brand new album, and I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more about her and her music in the coming months. Now, don't forget, coming up after the break, we'll be heading over to Manchester to join Martin Logan, who's out and about with the Irish community in the UK. So we're going to leave you with one of Janet's own composition called Westport Town. So until next week, slán go fóill.